Looking at the Washington Commanders cornerback room, there's no doubt in my mind that the right move is for Mike Sainristil to go back inside in 2025. That and more right now on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into today's episode of Locked On Commanders. I'm your friend, your host, your eyes, your ears on the ground, covering the Washington Commanders, David Harrison, and I'm here with you every Monday through Friday, covering the Commanders for the Locked On Commanders podcast, of course, but also for WUSA9.com and for Sports Illustrated's CommanderGameDay.com. I want to thank you all for coming through here today. In this episode, we are going to talk about the NFL Draft coming to Washington, D.C. Big news. Back-to-back weeks, big news for the Washington, D.C. area, for the district, for the Washington Commanders, all kinds of good stuff going on. So we're going to talk about that, but we're going to start off today's episode talking about the cornerback room. Again, we had a lot of great questions come into the mailbag at the end of last week, and we had a few of them that we're going to just shape complete and total episodes. This is one of those questions that's going to shape the majority of this episode. I had to pivot just a little bit to get the NFL Draft conversation in there, but it's going to be a great conversation. So I'm glad that you're here for it every dayers. Those of you who come through for every single episode, greatly appreciate you doing that. And of course, anybody out there, if you're not already subscribed for free on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast, please take the time to do so right now. And if you are on YouTube, please take time to click that like button. It does help other Commanders fans find the show, find the episode, just like you did. If you're new to the show, I want to welcome you. Thank you for finding us. Hopefully you like what you hear, you like what you see, and you come back again and visit us soon. Locked On Commanders is a daily podcast covering the Washington Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox, no console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more about that today. The question that came in that is going to shape 3/4 or 2/3, I should say, because a third is a 3-segment show, came in from Parker. Insider Parker said, can you talk some more in depth about the use of the corner position and Mikey? I love Mikey. I would love to see him inside. Just want to hear your opinion. And I love the question because it's a big topic, obviously. And, you know, look, there's a lot of different variations of what could happen. So I'm going to give you what I think is going to happen based off of my evaluation of Mike Sainristil, the rest of the cornerback room, including newcomer rookie Trey Amos, second round pick, should have been a first round pick, second round pick, day 2 pick of the Washington Commanders in the 2025 NFL Draft. So to figure the best arrangement of cornerbacks on this roster, especially the starters, and then we first got to kind of outline a little bit of what the expectations are for the starters on this roster. And of course, you get into the dynamics of what's different between the nickel corner, the inside slot corner, whatever you want to call them, and the perimeter cornerback, right? So perimeter cornerbacks, and this is getting very general about the description. Physical, you need them to be physical, especially in the Washington Commanders defense. You do need some quickness, right? But you need that deep speed more than you need that quickness. You need to be able the ability to read and react. There's a lot of things that can go on, a lot of things that try to trick you, a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of coordinators are going to try to steer your eyes in the wrong direction. And of course, you want to have ball skills, right? Especially Joe Witt Jr. talks all the time about taking the ball away from the opposing offense. So you want to have those ball skills. Nickel corner, you need that physicality, but you also need agility. You need that short area ability to work in the slot. You need quickness in your reflexes, right? Deep speed is great. And certainly more and more offenses are using their slot corners to try to threaten the defense over the top and try to take the top off the defense and all those things. So you certainly want that deep speed in there. But more often than not, you're going to have to rely on that short area quickness, those reflexes more often than not. You need pass and run defensibility as well to survive, just generally speaking. Now let's get into some of the specifics here, because that really just kind of scratches the surface between the two differences in what is a very similar position. So where does Mikey fit best? That's kind of the main part of this question, because that's going to kind of steer everything else. And for me, Mikey Sainristil fits best in the slot, not just from his own standpoint, but also from a team standpoint. We're going to get into both layers of that conversation. So Commanders senior defensive assistant John Pagano once outlined his keys to playing the slot. I'm sure he did it more than once, but I found it once, right? I outlined his keys to playing the slot. If you want to read it for yourself, he didn't write it, but there's a write-up about his keys to playing the slot. 33rd Team did an article on them. Very good article. Definitely highly recommended. There is some film on there that I can't show here. Again, licensing laws for the National Football League. I cannot show you NFL license footage. Same thing with NCAA footage, things like that. But 33rd Team, they either have the license or they are just choosing to do what they want to do. Either way, there's tape in there. So if you want to see it, definitely go over there and check it out. So we're going to also discuss those and why Mikey Sainristil fits the mold of those 3 keys that John Pagano laid out in that article. So key number 1, processing. Are you talking football IQ, mental quickness, right? The ability to quickly react to what's going on, recognize what's going on, understand how you fit in the whole scheme of things, and make the right decision, and vision. If you can't see it, you can't react to it, right? Key number 2, physicality. You're going to face multiple personnel packages. Sometimes there's going to be an inline tight end on your side. Sometimes there might be a bunch set. One of those guys might be a tight end. It might be 3 receivers. You might have a running back motion out into your side, into the flat, whatever it is. Even if they motion to the opposite side, it's going to change that personnel package. It might change your assignment, who you're going up against. So you've got to be able to face those multiple packages. And, of course, you want your cornerbacks, especially your slot corners, going to be closer to the ball, closer to the line of scrimmage, to where the quarterback is. You want them to be able to impact the game as a run defender, at least help, right? Even if you're not a massive tackler, just at least be able to help and or assault the quarterback. And I think Mikey Sainristil is still better as a blitzing corner coming off the edge, coming out of the slot, than he would be a run stopper, but certainly a guy who's willing to get in there and throw his weight around, for the amount of weight that he does have. Key number 3, according to Coach Pagano, coverage. You got to use that football IQ to leverage your help against the receivers. Do you have a safety over top? Is he inside? Is he outside? You got 2 guys over there. What's the corner outside of you doing? What are the linebackers inside of you doing? Do you have a dropping edge that's going to take a flat curl zone or whatever they're going to do? How do you leverage all that stuff into your coverage? And then importantly, once you know what that game plan is going to be, how do you make sure you don't tilt that to the offense? Because believe me, those quarterbacks are out there looking for every sign they can get, and they see you shading inside, cheating inside way too much. They're like, all right, he's either got a zone behind him on the outside or he's got safety help over there. Gives those quarterbacks those cues that they like to need. Plus, you're going to need to be able to help against receivers, tight ends, running backs, going back to that physicality. Former wide receiver skills for Mikey Sainristil. He's a receiver converted into a cornerback. Those things help him tremendously. He's got great vision, sees the field really well. The toughness, the physicality. Dude is 5'8", but the way he plays the game, you think he was 6'1", 6'2". And his IQ, not just on the football field, guys. Mikey Sainristil, just intelligent beyond belief. I've had conversations with him about socioeconomic topics, about his efforts try to help people back home in Haiti, and about football and just about life in general. He's a father, right? Like, just a very, very intelligent young man, very impressive. I remember having about a 30-minute conversation with him after a training camp practice last year, and I just blown away, man, just blown away by the conversation. But because all of those things, those are what, to me, makes Mikey Sainristil the best guy to go inside. But that doesn't automatically mean Mikey being inside is the best thing for the Commanders, because obviously he can play outside. We saw it last year. So in order for them to facilitate him moving back inside, they've got to have the guys suited to play outside. Just like we saw last year, if the perimeter guys who have to play every rep are weak, then Mikey might have to stay inside. So how do we make sure that they have those 2 guys? The Washington Commanders took steps to do that. We're going to break those 2 guys down coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you in part by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. It helps you find the right talent. So if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with freelance experts who deliver incredible results, and they make it fast. They make it easy to hire all those people. You can post your jobs for free, and you can do it very, very simply. It makes it cost-effective for you to be able to grow. So visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. Again, it's upwork.com, upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Continuing today's episode of Locked On Commanders, talking about the cornerback position and kind of breaking down how we see the depth chart projecting as we get into the OTA period, as we get closer to the training camp period. I should say we got rookie mini camp coming up this week. So, of course, we'll be back out at Ashburn for that. I've got an event that Commanders receiver Terry McLaurin is hosting. We'll be out there for that here this week as well. So we'll have some on-ground stuff for you this week, but we're also going to be getting ready for the OTA periods that we get to see the practices. Those guys have been at work. They've been in Ashburn. They're putting in the work. They're doing all the things they need to do to make sure that 2025 is a successful season. But right now, until we get to see the full meat of this project and how it's going to come together in 2025, a lot of this is going to be based on speculation. However, that speculation based off of tape, based off of history, and based off of what we think is going to happen that could be best for the Washington Commanders. So like I said, Mike Sainristil, first topic, see, he's the best guy on the roster for the job to play the slot. He's got the perfect combination of physicality, football IQ, mental agility, physical agility, and just the ability to play the position from a coverage standpoint, run support standpoint, but also as a blitzer off the edge. And I think that's something that Joe Wood Jr., defense coordinator of your Commanders, would love to be able to take advantage of. Now, in order to do that, again, just like last year, weakness outside, Mike had to go outside to help secure that position. Why? Because even though the slot, even though that third receiver has become more and more dominant, more and more predominant in NFL offenses, there's still two receiver sets. There's still 11, there's 12 personnel. There's all kinds of things that teams will do. Those perimeter corners are the guys that stay on the field the most. So that becomes the most important part of the secondary, right? The only slam dunk position I think to pin down is going to be Marshon Lattimore. Marshon Lattimore, I know a lot of people expected more out of him after he was traded to the Commanders last November at the trade deadline. But every dayers, if you've been around since last season, you're going to remember I was telling you I didn't really expect him to play until week 15, after the week 14 bye, that week 15 game in New Orleans, pretty much from the moment he was acquired. Now, I was hoping, I think just like a lot of us were hoping, that once he got to Washington, he would have kind of a Devontae Adams-like magical recovery of his hamstring, and poof, he's ready to go and ready to play week 1. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. That's not what transpired. And it just takes time for people to get over those hamstring injuries. Then you've got to take time to turn the mental part of the game, because all the coaches told us, all the teammates told us, he was in the meetings, he was catching on really good to the calls, the signals, the looks, all those things. But until you get on the field and you get to put it together physically, it's hard to really get acclimated to a new defense. Then you go on the practice field, then you go to the game field, and then the bullets start flying for real. It's hard to do those things as well. So it takes a little bit of time, right? The most talented corners in the NFL can't just walk into a new defense midstream and just boom, click. It's just not a realistic, unfortunate expectation. And I think that the all-pro, right, the all-pro caliber tag and the Pro Bowl tag and all that stuff kind of preceded him and set expectations a little high. The most talented corners, like I said, can struggle against even the best competition, but especially coming to new territory. I always go back to Nnamdi Asomugha. He was a 90s cornerback. Some of you might be too young to remember him, but he was the best cornerback in the league. Signs a big deal, goes to a new team, essentially flames out. It doesn't always work as quickly as you want it to. So even with all of that, last season, Marshon Lattimore, the least targeted cornerback in the National Football League per snap. He was targeted once every 12.7 snaps in 2024. That, according to PFF snap and stat scouting, that was the least, like I said, the least common target per rep category. Now, you might point to the Saints game and say, yeah, the New Orleans Saints just completely stayed away from him, while other teams in the season, like the Philadelphia Eagles, even the Dallas Cowboys, kind of went after him a little bit. Marshon Lattimore's first game with Washington, where New Orleans completely avoided him, if you take that out of the mix, his targets per snap ratio drops to 10.4 snaps per target, which is lower. Obviously, it's 2 snaps per target less, so it is significant. However, that's still sixth best in the league, right? The 6th highest snap to target ratio. So however you want to slice it, however disappointed anybody, whether you're a media fan, whatever, might be disappointed in what they got out of Marshon Lattimore post-trade, the NFL clearly still respects this dude, even after all the injuries he's gone through and everything else. So regardless of the reputation that preceded itself, just because, yeah, the Eagles went after him, Don't think that this is Marshon Lattimore being exposed. It's part of what happens when you play top talent, right? He and Mike Evans, again, going back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, have gone after each other for years. And believe me, I've covered several of these matchups. I remember interviewing Mike Evans after he got ejected for fighting Marshon Lattimore on the floor of the Superdome, all of these things. He and Mike Evans, Marshon Lattimore and Mike Evans, have had their losses against each other. They've had their wins against each other. Both men have won and they've lost. They've gotten their shares of wins and losses. A.J. Brown, obviously, I think he got more wins, right, than Marshon Lattimore got this last season. But again, give Marshon some time to acclimate to the system. Give him time to find his feet in the system, get healthy, have the offseason, and then you're going to see things go a little bit different. Doesn't mean that A.J. Brown is just going to get shut down by Marshon, right? A.J. Brown is who he is for a reason as well. But these guys are also a little bit different of animals, right? A.J. Brown and Mike Evans, two of the most athletic, big-bodied receivers in the NFL. Not even necessarily from a height standpoint, because A.J. Brown's not exactly a towering wide receiver, but from just a bulk physicality standpoint, there aren't many receivers in the league that have that combination of size and athleticism as those guys do, right? So you're not facing A.J. Brown every week. I know you need to be able to face A.J. Brown and stop him and help contain him. But again, those wins will come just as the losses will come as well. That paired with Lattimore, like I said, getting the entire offseason training camp, I'm honestly worried more about Marshon staying healthy than I am about his being able to become himself, quote unquote, inside this defense or play up to his name, truthfully. His physicality is an all-in type of style. You're going to get some bad reps from that kind of a style, right? It's not unlike a gunslinger at quarterback, but you're going to get some really good reps. And it's really perfect for that perimeter corner because that's where you can kind of play a little bit more of that doggish style of defensive back. Lattimore has never been the win with technique, quote unquote, type, right? He's really never been that kind of guy, even going back to Ohio State. So he's not really a fit for the slot. Now, he has had some time in the slot. He's played reps in the slot, but I wouldn't say that, especially at this point in his career, that he's a candidate to be a full-time guy in there. He hasn't played more than 28 snaps in the slot in a single season since 2021. So that kind of supports that hypothesis. Right now, that leaves us with the opposite perimeter corner position. And my top guy for that, I mean, clearly everybody's top guy for that entering this period of the offseason, it's going to be rookie cornerback Trey Amos. Before he even touches the field, I'm penciling him in as that opposite perimeter starting cornerback on the other side of Marshon Lattimore and on the outside of Mike Sainristil. 6'1", 4.43 speed coming out of Ole Miss, 77 3/4 inch wingspan, plays long, runs long, just excellent in press. Plays well in the short area of the field, which is incredible. He's got plenty of experience in zone. You watch him move through his coverage. He stays on the guy's hips. He moves fluid, never really looks totally out of place or lost. You know, again, he's got bad reps just like anybody does. But when you watch him consistently on tape, he's got a lot of good reps. Washington's going to want to get him a little bit more decisive on the field. See what you see, trust what you see, go after it. But that is going to come with time on task. The more confident he becomes in the task or in the scheme, in his responsibilities, the more decisive he'll become. He projected in the draft process to fit well in a cover 3 type of defense, mainly cover 3 defense. The Commanders, 6th most cover 3 defensive usage in 2024. So it all tracks, right? So those are the main 3 positions that we want to talk about. Marshon and Trey outside, Mikey inside. The rest of the group, after those 3 guys, the backups, quote unquote, inside, outside versatility amongst all of them. No egg monogamy. Can play inside, can play outside. Very physical, very long, good for about a flag a game, right? But that's just kind of who he is. Jonathan Jones can play inside, can play outside. Will Harris, safety, can also come down and play inside if you need him to. So if the poop hits the fan, you can move Mikey back outside. You can move either Noah Igbenogany or Jones inside. You can try Igbenogany outside. You can try Jones outside. You have a lot of different mixtures and a lot of different makeups. So you really have your 3 starters. And then you have Jones and Igbenogany are kind of your 2 backups, right? Depending on what you need and when you need it. I like the versatility of the group. I like the depth of the group. And then the starters, they're kind of specialized, right? Like Marshon and Trey. Trey has about a handful. I mean, he's got more than that, but less than a dozen slot snaps per season in his college career, right? So they're kind of specialized, more just pure outside guys. But then you got Mikey with the versatility, and the guys in the depth chart have the versatility as well. So that's good there, because if you need to move Mikey around, even if it's just based on formation or motion, you want to disguise as much as you possibly can. He can do that, and he can do all of it with confidence and help you combat the shifts and the motion that your opponents are going to try to do. So that's how I see the cornerback position right now. That's why I see Mike Sainristil moving back inside. Again, I think when training camp comes, OTAs come, you're going to see Mikey get outside reps, inside reps. They're just going to try to figure out where everybody fits the most. I remember, and that's all coaching stuff. I remember seeing Emmanuel Forbes taking slot reps as a cornerback last year. Didn't work, but you put him in there and you find out if there's some potential there or not. So that's our cornerback position group review here. Thanks again, Parker, for that question. Coming up, though, the news of the day, Washington, D.C. hosting the 2027 NFL Draft. That coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Commanders, and the hits keep coming, man, for the Washington Commanders, for Washington, D.C. The good news just keeps rolling in, dating all the way back to the sale of the franchise. Then it's the coaching staff. Then it's, the GM before the coaching staff, Jaden Daniels, the run to the NFC Championship game, the new stadium, and now the announcement official made on Monday that Washington, D.C. is going to host the 2027 NFL Draft. That announcement coming from President Donald Trump, along with D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, and, of course, Josh Harris, managing partner of the Washington Commanders. So everything coming up roses for Washington these days. The news cycle, honestly, is just as busy as ever, but it's good news. It's all good news. For the last going on 2 years now, it's all been good news, and that's what you love about it. We're just as busy, never have a shortage of things to talk about, but it's all been great stuff so far. So let's keep that good thing rolling. Obviously. So the NFL Draft, President Trump said, quote, "It's going to be something nobody else will ever be able to duplicate," end quote, and that it will happen at the National Mall. I had some questions from the insiders. Is it going to happen at, Northwest Stadium? Where is it going to possibly happen? It's going to happen at the National Mall. At least that is the expectation, and that is, what is expected to happen. So Roger Goodell followed up, says he believes there's going to be over 1 million attendees. Would be the first NFL draft in history to have over 1 million people attend the event, which is a great move by Roger Goodell. One, because I think it's very possible that Washington, D.C. could have 1 million person draft attendance. So I don't think it's an undeliverable promise or expectation. But two, it now kind of puts pressure on Pittsburgh. Like, if you're Pittsburgh now, you kind of know this big event, like this one's already kind of overshadowing your event, is coming. So you want to find a way to try to get ahead of that projection. I don't know the space they have planned. I don't even know if it's feasible, but you need to get on that list. Like, you want your city to be known as one of the top attended draft lists there, because you're about to be trumped. No pun intended. In the following year, Green Bay was projected to have less than 300,000 people attend the NFL Draft in their city. Over 600,000 people attended. So if Green Bay can generate 600K, where they are kind of isolated, Pittsburgh, you got to step up, right? Second most, 600K in Green Bay is the second most since the NFL started touring the event. Detroit holds the current record for NFL draft attendance since the NFL started moving it every year. For the 2024 NFL draft, where Jaden Daniels was drafted number 2 overall, 775,000 fans attended that draft. So if you're Pittsburgh, you got to be trying to at least get to 800K so that, even if DC gets to 1 million, you're at least the second most. You'd obviously love to be the quote-unquote first, second quote-unquote, you'd love to be the first to have 1 million, because then if Washington does, it's like, yeah, we already did it. I don't see it happening. I don't think 1 million people are going to Pittsburgh for much of anything. But the economic boost is great, right? I think DC is the perfect location. The historical backdrop, right? There's really not a bad spot. Like how do just the logistics of it is really going to determine. I mean, I can't imagine being a college football player, being a young man, and beginning your NFL career walking out in front of like the Lincoln Memorial. That would just be dope as heck, right? But also, Washington, D.C. is the ultimate sports location as far as I'm concerned. Now, something that is considered a drawback in some ways about the region for the NFL draft is a huge strength. And it's the fact this is a transient city. It's a transplant city. A lot of the people living in and around the D.C. area are not from Washington, D.C. They're not from the D.C. DMV area, because you've got military bases. You've got a lot of government employees who come from around the country to work, in these government offices, all that stuff. You just got a lot of people from a lot of different places. That's going to help this goal of bringing in over 1 million attendees. Plus, people are always taking vacations to Washington, D.C. So if you're a sports fan, imagine taking your vacation to D.C. Maybe you go for a week. Early in the week, you take the family around the mall. You go sightseeing. You go to some museums. Maybe you take in a show. Maybe you take in a game of the whatever sporting event is taking place. You know what I mean? Maybe go see the Caps play a game, and then at the end of the week, you go take in the NFL draft. Like that week is just going to be the ultimate vacation experience for people who take advantage of it. So I think it's going to be a great event. And I think, like I said, something that sometimes is considered a negative about the DC area, that it is a transient transplant city. I think for an event like the NFL draft is a huge, huge advantage for DC that a lot of cities do not have. Not a lot of people living in Green Bay, Wisconsin, that are not from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And most of them, if not all of them, are Packers fans. But we all know in the DC area, they're fans of pretty much any sports team you can possibly consider. So big news for DC, big news for the NFL, big news for Commanders fans. If you want to go see the 2027 NFL draft, you're not going to have to go long or go far to do it if you are co-located with your favorite team. So I was going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Commanders. Coming up this week, we've got more conversations, some rookie mini camps set up. We're going to do another mailbag before rookie mini camp. Then, of course, like I said, we're going to be seeing Terry McLaurin this week, so we'll get some time to catch up with him. And, of course, we'll have a rookie mini camp reports, all kinds of players to watch, coaches to talk to, all kinds of fun stuff, all coming up this week on Locked On Commanders. If you want to get involved in the conversation beyond the show, send questions for mailbags, topics just like Parker did for this show. All you have to do is become a Locked On Commanders insider to do that. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders and become an insider today. For your next listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. The NFL draft is over, but the roster moves and news never stops. Hosts Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino are going to make you the most informed NFL fans this offseason. Locked On NFL Scouting with the draft dudes, Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino, a show that is on my personal podcast rotation. So obviously, I definitely recommend it. You can find them for free on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this very episode. As always, thank you so much for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day, every day. Thanks for coming through on a regular basis like you do. And until we speak again, if you're out and about, please be safe, be kind, and I'll see you right back here next time for another episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.